Hello, students. Let's read this problem together. Joseph participated in a 10-kilometer marathon in San Antonio, Texas. There are 1.6 kilometers in 1 mile. How many miles are in 10 kilometers? So once again, our question, how many miles are in 10 kilometers? So they want the answer in miles. I can see that right here. So we have an equivalent measure, and we are going to use it to set up our proportion. We have two units of measure that are equivalent to each other. They gave us 1.6 kilometers in 1 mile. So we have kilometers and we have miles. We're going to color code so that we make sure that our proportion is set up correctly. So we want to make sure that the two ratios are set up in the right place. So the first thing we know is that 1.6 kilometers is equivalent to 1 mile because they said 1.6 in 1 mile. So we can write that here. We said we were going to put kilometers on top, so 1.6 kilometers in 1 mile. Now, the other portion that they gave me, the other part, the given in the story problem is 10 kilometers. So we make sure that we're going to put 10 up here with kilometers. And then the question says how many miles? So X, or our unknown, is the miles. Okay, so now we can solve by using our cross products. So 10 times 1 will be equivalent to 1.6 times X. So this looks like an equation, and we are trying to isolate the X because we want to know what X is equal to. So it has a coefficient, and coefficient means it's being multiplied. So to undo that, we're going to do the inverse, which is to divide by 1.6. But since we have an equation, whatever we do to one side, we have to do it to the other side. This is going to turn into 1 because 1.6 divided by 1.6 is 1, and we will be left with X. But on the other side, we have to evaluate. So we have 10 times 1, which is 10, and 1.6 in the bottom. So we have 10 divided by 1.6. Remember that this bar means to divide. So I'm going to divide 10 divided by 1.6. Now, do you remember a rule about decimals? We've talked about this. Can we have a decimal in the divisor? No, we don't want a decimal in our divisor. So we are going to move that decimal all the way to the end to make a whole number. But whatever we do in the divisor, we have to do inside in the dividend. Now, where's the decimal inside here in the dividend? I don't see one. That's right. It's behind the 0 because 10 is a whole number. So 10.0 would mean the same thing as 10. And now I can move this decimal one time or one place over, and it would end up here. Okay, let's clean that up. Okay, so 16 cannot go into 1 or 10, so we're looking for 16 to go into 100. So I can start off with 16 times 5. And 16 times 5, 6 times 5 is 30, 5 times 1 is 5, plus 3 is 8, is 80. I think I can still add 16 more to that. So I think I would need 16 times 6. 6 times 6 is 36, I carry 3, 6 times 1 is 6, and 3 is 9. So 16 times 6 is 96. That's closer, and I don't think I have room for any more groups of 16. So 6 is the best answer. because 6 times 16 gave me 96. If I subtract that, I will still have 4 left over. Remember that I had moved the decimal here, so now I can add a 0 behind it. It's not going to change the value of 100, but I can keep dividing. And 16 goes into 40. Now, right now, I might be thinking, I'm not sure. But if we take a good look at our answers, we see that there is an answer that starts with 6. So I'm thinking that if I am in the right direction, the next number should be 2. So I can try, what is 16 times 2? That's 12 and 1. 2 times 1 is 2, and 1 more is 32. So that looks good. And I'm going to do 2 because 16 times 2 gave me 32. When I subtract that, I am not quite done because I get 8. So I'm going to add another 0, extending the quotient line. Bring down that 0. Now I need to know how many times 16 goes into 80. Remember, I had already worked out 16 times 5, and it had given me 80 as my product. So it looks like I can use 5 to get 80, and then I will be done. So x is equal to 6.25, and remember, x is in miles. So x is equal to 6.25 miles. How many miles are in 10 kilometers? There are 6.25 miles in 10 kilometers.